So, question today, are you genuinely happy? The reason I'm asking this is because in the 17 years I've been coaching, I have noticed that a lot of people attend gyms with the hope of changing their lives. They've got this connection or attachment to this belief or this hope that if they join a gym and they lose the weight and they can build a better body, that their life will change. Now, for some people, that's true. Some people, all they do need is to improve their bodies a bit and their life works out well. But in my experience, the vast majority of people who join the gym with the hope of the body is going to make them better, make them feel better about themselves, it usually ends in disappointment. Because the reality is, your physical appearance is not going to dictate how you feel about yourself emotionally or mentally. It may give you moments, a small window of a small period of time where you're proud and you're feeling happy yourself, but very soon that physical appearance, that identity you've created, it just becomes normal. And the problems that were lurking in the background when you were that overweight guy who believed that getting a six-pack or losing the weight would improve, he's still there and he still shows his face every day. And he's going to approach you and knock on the door and wake you up during the night. He hasn't changed because you haven't approached the real issue. And I see this so much. You know, we believe that the fatness, the out of shapeness is what's causing the problem. But being overweight, from what I've experienced, my own self and coaching many others, that's a byproduct of the thought patterns that run around your head every day. And those thought patterns, they're a byproduct of the unhealed emotional trauma you've got inside of you, those experiences that you had at childhood or growing up that you haven't dealt with, that you locked away, that your ego fractured and fragmented to keep you safe. And they're still lurking. They're still controlling you from a deeply unconscious position that you're not even aware of in most cases. And we are searching for happiness in the wrong place. We are hoping that someone else is going to be able to deliver what we couldn't deliver for ourselves. This is why the fitness industry, this is why the mental health industry, this is why the emotional space industry is so profitable. Because I don't want to say it preys on people's vulnerabilities, because there are a lot of good people out there who wouldn't do that and don't do that. But there are a lot of unscrupulous people who just see other people's pains and traumas as a way to profit from. And so they throw out bait into the social media atmosphere, knowing that there are going to be people doom scrolling every day because they're so miserable with their own existence, and that they're going to see these adverts and they're going to latch on to these hopeful buzzwords that are used to entice you to click the see more button. And it's basically it's preying on people's vulnerabilities, and it's so sad to see that this is what's happened in society. It's like a pandemic. We've got this real pandemic of people hating themselves, unhappy with how they look, move and feel, unhappy how they think. And we are all dead. We all believe we're the only ones going through this. We all believe that everyone else is happier because we're so isolated. It's so depressing. It's like we have all this knowledge at the tips of our fingers, and we're like emotionally starved. So many of us are starving for true connection, for love. And we feel like we're isolated. We feel like we're the only ones going through this. And I know this because I was there for quite some period of time. But two, I have conversations with men on a regular basis, like daily. And although the experiences of what they're talking about may differ, the energy that resonates underneath it is the same. It's this feeling of isolation, where we feel like we're the only ones going through this pain, this experience. And because we feel like that, we tend to keep it into ourselves. We don't share it. We put that mask on and we just get on with everyday life. And we experience this Groundhog Day. And we'll go through these processes where we question, is this it? Is this all life has to offer us? And that slowly morphs into, this is all life has to offer us. And that morphs into just deal with it. And before we know it, we're all living this Groundhog Day experience. We're not even living it, we're just existing in it. And we become very adept at pretending. We become very skilled at presenting on social media the version of ourselves we want others to believe we are. And this is just feeding the algorithm, the lie, the societal lie, where we're all acting like we're happy. We're all feeling isolated. And we're all scared to speak up and actually ask for help. Now, I've been through the darkness recently. We've all been. And there's lessons to be learned within that suffering. We avoid the darkness. Most people don't want to go into darkness. We prefer to live in this perpetual life that's lit up and beautiful and all this positivity mindset bullshit, because none of us, or few of us, want to actually acknowledge the darkness. And every single one of us has it. Every single one of us must go there. What I've discovered is that those moments, and this is personal, the moments where you're thrown into that darkness, those depths that you don't want to be, they're where you've got to go to in order to transcend, in order to move up to the next stage, to get to the next level. And so many of us avoid it. We actively go out of our way to avoid that. We distract ourselves with drink, drugs, cigarettes, food, porn, all social media addiction, doom scrolling. We will focus on anything and everything to prevent us from having to go to the place we must go to in order to move forward. And so what we've got here is a society who's presenting an image of their life on social media, the life that they want others to believe they're living, while in reality, they are struggling. And it's permeated through the entire of society. The amount of guys that I talk to who will, after one-on-one conversations, will open up to their true mental state, how they're actually feeling. And the energy that's running through these conversations, they're the exact same. No one really feels, from my experience, no one really feels like they've got enough, they are enough. And so they're looking for other people to give them the answer so that they feel like they're enough. And it's a futile experience, because the only one who's ever going to give you that feeling is you. And the only way you get that feeling is by sitting in the darkness and digesting those things you've avoided all your life. No one said, see, this is the problem. We've been conditioned to believe that life is easy because of social media. Social media gives each and every one of us the ability to present to the world a lie. A lie at how happy our relationships are. A lie at how much money we're making. A lie at how happy we are satisfied in our jobs, in our relationships outside, in the way we think, in the way we see the world. It's very easy for us to copy and paste a quote from Google that sounds good and resonates with others and helps you get likes and shares and follows, but it does nothing to soothe your soul. It does nothing to actually tackle the root of the problem that's making you feel the need to spend time searching for these quotes to get the likes. And if more of us were willing to just look in the mirror and acknowledge this truth and then take steps towards changing, it would become a collective consciousness thing and it would start permeating through the rest of society. It's like that 100 monkey experiment. We all know about the 100 monkey experiment. If you don't, it's a very simple one. Scientists were studying a breed of monkey, I think it was in India, and one of them worked out a rock, how to smash nuts with rocks. So they're opening these nuts with rocks, and then they were teaching the other monkey, and then the other monkeys do it, and these other monkeys would teach. And eventually there was 100 monkeys, and the troop learned how to do it. And after the 100th monkey, other scientists, I think it was across the world actually, who were studying similar breed of monkeys in different countries or different parts of the country, all spoke about how almost instantaneously the entire troop of monkeys just started picking up rocks and smashing these nuts. And they came to the realization that there was collective consciousness, the energetic thing, and once that collective consciousness had reached a certain vibrational standard, it infected the rest of the monkeys, even though they were nowhere near it. And this is where, I think, is where we're getting to in society as a species. I know a lot of people don't believe in astrology, but I do. And the last time the planets were in this alignment was during the French Revolution and the War of Independence. And you can sort of see the similar energies of the War of Independence and French Revolution of what's happening today, and people are waking up and people are fighting back and people are no longer willing to accept the control of the governmental structures. So there's an energy that's impacting society right now on a collective stage. Like this is an earthly thing. This isn't just like individual. This is earthly, and we're all being affected by this. So it's inevitable it's going to happen. And the reality is the majority of us aren't truly happy with who we are. And we're using material goods, we're using lies on social media, we're using this desire to make more money. Somehow we believe that money will make us happier. Listen, there are billionaires and millionaires committing suicide every day. Money gives you an opportunity. But the problem with society today is money is our foundational focus because we don't have enough of it. And the way it's set up, the way society's been set up today is we are divided because we are all seeing other people with more and we want that more. And we become almost hateful towards those who have more. And we take ourselves off the path we're meant to be on in this attempt to chase this dream that social media, just the energy of society as a collective pushes upon us. It's pushed into our subconscious mind continually, the lack of. We're very rarely do you hear people talking about, I am content, I am actually content. Was it Seneca that said, one of the Stoics, who quoted not this is just, I'm taking it in my own words, but you need to learn to be grateful for the things you have as much as you are focused on the things you don't. Because if you can love the things you have as much as you love the idea of the things you want, then you're going to be happy. And I get that. I've got a 1996 camper van. It is, I call her, she's just rusted to fuck and she's old and she goes from 0 to 50 in a month. But I absolutely fucking love her. I just, every time I climb into her, I'm so grateful that I have this ability to drive anywhere in the country at any time and don't need to book in the hotel rooms, don't need to worry about where I'm parking. It gives me this freedom. It gives me the ability to just leave where I want to go and go where I want to be and just sit with myself or bring someone with me and have an experience, because I think a lot of us are so focused on chasing the dream that we don't realize that we're living right now. We'll be happy. I'm really bad for this. I was called out in this before, when will you be happy? I always say I'll be happy when I get this, then I got this. I'll be happy when I get that. When you get that? Well, there has to come a point where you have to sit back and just go, I'm happy. Like I'm looking right now in my gym. There's gyms out there that are much, much better, much bigger, much busier, financially more successful. But you know what? I've built this part. I built all this by myself. Every single thing in here, I earned it. This is my sweat equity. This is my legacy. This is proof of the effort that I put in. And this is my manifestation. And I think a lot of us, we're so embarrassed to profess pride within ourselves. It's like the culture, especially in Northern Ireland, the culture we grew up in, you were shamed about being proud of who you are. Look at the culture of America compared to the culture of Northern Ireland. Two completely different concepts. In America, you're encouraged to stand there and be proud of your achievements. In Northern Ireland, you're encouraged to shut the fuck up and not say anything, because it seemed to be boasting and bragging. But that's because we grew up in a society of less. And I suppose unconscious jealousy, because a lot of people didn't want to, a lot of people felt the struggle was so real through the troubles and all that. Very few of us had anything, and we grew up in a society where there was fear, there was division, and there was a lack of. But you know what there wasn't a lack of? It was so much stronger back then in troubles. A sense of community, that support network. Because that division, that lack of, that shared feeling of helplessness or loss or lack of, it brought the good out of people. It made people, we were more willing to share. We were more supportive of each other. You look at society now, the multicultural society, it's only multicultural by race. There's no real culture anymore at all. We've lost the connection with the man and woman within us. And I think that is one of the main reasons why so many of us are unhappy, and that is one of the main reasons why we are so easily swayed and sold on the quick, easy fixes that social media adverts present to us. When we're bombarded with these messages of this program will help you lose 20 pounds, this program will help your depression, this program will help you get rid of the narcissistic partner breakups you had, and this program will help you enlighten yourself. And there's always these buzzword, attention-grabbing headlines that appeal to the emotional, unconscious feelings within us all and make us click more. And we buy this program in the hope that whoever's on the end of this program is going to give us the answers to our pains. And what we don't realize is we have the answers within ourselves. The only thing we don't have is the strength and fortitude to push through it. Because where we need to be happy is on the other side of that dark tunnel we're scared to go through. And the only way we discover that happiness is by going through the darkness. And nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants someone else to tell them what to do. It's the savior complex. If you look at the Abrahamic religions, each and every one of them have got a savior that's coming to rescue us. And all we have got to do is sit here and wait. Christianity's got Jesus. Jews have got the Messiah. Muslims have got the Muhammad. But that teaches us on a really this is generational. We are born into these belief structures. Our DNA have actually been manipulated before we were born to attach to this belief structure. Because we've got to understand epigenetics. Now, epigenetics has only proven what people like me have believed for many years, that our traumas are ancestral. A lot of the things we carry, the emotions and the baggage we carry, is not ours to carry. It's emotional, and epigenetics prove that. If you experience a trauma, your DNA shifts, it changes. And then if you have a child, your child is created through your DNA. So that DNA that's been changed because of the trauma and toxicity, it is absorbed by the child. And this is why if you don't heal your traumas, if you don't deal with the past, you don't deal with the pains, you just destined to pass them on. That's where the sayings come, the sins of the father are passed on to the son and all. It's because we are unwilling to go to where we need to go. And this is something I can say I'm becoming an expert in. I have sat through the pains and the traumas and the fears and tribulations, and it's not easy. In fact, it's the hardest thing you'll do. And there are moments where you just want everything to end. You want it to stop. You just don't want to go on any further. But you do get through it, and you sit with that pain, and you cry with yourself, and you hold yourself, and you deal with the agony and the onslaught of emotions that accompany dealing with the truth, dealing with your own truth. But when you dealt with it, and you've gone through that tunnel, you come out it stronger. You've changed yourself for life. You discover a resilience, a sense of fortitude within yourself that can only be forged by going through those flames. And most of us are scared to get burnt. And this is the problem. I think the real issue is that we don't have a support structure that allows us to deal with this. It's the isolation that we experience that's causing the pain. Life is pain. Life is pleasure. Life is enjoyment. Life is sadness. Life is experience. This is the whole thing. If we could be content, if we could connect with the reality that life isn't going to give us what we want, life is going to give us what we need to progress. And what we need to progress is the ability to suffer, and the ability to laugh, and the ability to love, and the ability to cry, and the ability to sit with the emotions. Life doesn't judge us. Life just gives us. And we absorb it. And how we absorb these emotions, how we absorb these experiences is going to determine how we deal with them. And the more we can, the more isolated we feel, the more isolated we become, the harder the hardships become. If you've got a support network around you that love you, that are willing to let you sit in your pain, are willing to hold you through that, it lessens the emotional damage. It still hurts, but it's just that knowing that although you're going through something no one else can help you with, you've got the support network there to be held through it. There's a massive, massive proponent of that. And you think about this, you can see my head thinks deeply, can't you? But we live in a society where we have all the knowledge at the touch of a button. We can click a link, click on an app, and then we can go and write something, and we can get supported by hundreds and thousands of people in our own echo chambers that will agree with our sense of belief and back up our emotions. We've got all the technology we could ever dream of. But if you're honest, the more technologically advanced we become, the more isolated we become. And if you want proof of that, and then the more isolated we become, the more depressed we become, and the more separated and divided we become. So in this age where they are pushing this belief and this story, this narrative that we are more connected than ever, the internet of everything, that's what they're talking about now. We are the most isolated, alone, and depressed we have ever been. So maybe we're being sold a lie. Maybe we're being pushed down this technological route because they want us connected to everything, because they want us transhumans, and they don't care about us. Because I'll give you a better example of why this is true. Look at the indigenous tribes in any country. Inuits, Amazonian tribes, African tribes, you name it. Anywhere where there are indigenous tribes that still live the way we lived 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, whenever. They are happier. They're more content than any of us. They are living the dream that we all desire. Because what we really desire is to be held, is to be loved. It's to know that we have got someone to listen to, someone to fall back on, someone to support us. That is what we're craving. That is what we're searching for. But that is not what we are told happiness is. Happiness, genuinely, is being able to go to bed content. Happiness is when you wake up beside someone you love. Happiness is your kids dancing and cheering and having fun with you. That's what happiness is. Happiness is found in the laughter with your friends. But we're sold the lie of what happiness is. And because, all you need to do is repeat something over and over again. That's the difference. The truth in society today is something that's repeated through social media. It's repeated on the news. It's repeated through the celebrities, to the point where it gets into our brain so much that it becomes the unconscious program that runs within it. And unless we can chase that, unless we achieve that, we do not feel happy. And it's set up so we never achieve it. It's set up so that the average man and woman can never, ever achieve that. But it's also set up so that we are permanently and constantly bombarded with stories and social media sites and profiles and people who have achieved it. The dream. Oh, look at the house they live in. Geez, I wish I lived in that house. Look at those views. Oh my God, look at that car. Oh, the holidays they're having. Look at their kids. They're so happy. We're just sold a lie. And because we are so unhappy, this is unconscious. This isn't, because people are going, I'm happy, I'm happy. If you're truly happy, then I am happy for you. I think it's brilliant and beautiful if people are genuinely happy. But the fact there's so many men taking their own lives tells me it's not true. And we're in an age where we don't know what is real and what is fake. Do you know, look at the AI videos. How the deep fakes, it's just on Instagram and TikTok throughout the day now. We don't know what's real, what's a lie. And we are so glued to our phones looking for the truth that we're distracting ourselves from what is true. What is true is we've got one life in this body. Paul Murray will never exist again. The Paul Murray is 47 years young. Once he goes, he goes. His soul will live on. His soul will probably come back. Hopefully not. Hopefully he'll move on. But his soul may come back and have another experience, but he won't remember Paul Murray. The legacy of Paul Murray will die when I die. Same for you. And we're all willing to waste that time we've got, the finite time, trying to chase a dream that isn't ours. We are all chasing dreams that we're told are our dreams. We're all chasing happiness that we're told is happiness. And we're all so far removed from doing what we need to do to make ourselves truly happy. We've now been programmed to fear chasing our dreams. We're worried about the judgment of people on social media. People don't know. We're more worried about what they will say or what their opinions are, that we will willingly give up what could truly make us happy. Like, it's so sad, isn't it? And do you know what the saddest thing is? As a collective, we're all the same. And we just don't have the courage to admit it. Like, do you know when you're depressed, when you're sad, when you're really down? It's not money you crave, it's connection. Do you remember when you were a child, when you were 4 or 5? Hopefully you do remember this. Some of you didn't have the luck, but when you were 4 or 5 and you fell and cut your knee, who'd you cry for? Your mummy. And who made you feel better? Your mummy. My mum used to have this magic dust in her pocket. So I'd cry my eyes at 4-year-old kid, fall, cut my knee, and then your mummy would sit you on her lap and she would sit me and she'd hug me and she'd song me this wee, and I was like, this song, she'd hum me this wee song. And to this day, this wee tune, it hits my soul, it opens my heart, because you're brought back to that place of 4 when this woman who was just love for you would comfort you, and she would put her hand in the back pocket and she would rub the magic dust on your knee, and it would make you happy again, make you fine, you'd be out playing. And if you look then at war, when men are down on the battlefield, who do they cry for? They cry for their mummy. Grown men cry for their mummy, because your mummy is love. Your mummy is your mummy who brought you into this world. You came from her body, and you latched onto her breast, and your heart's beating sync, and she would hold you. And at that age, when you're just newly born, you don't know anything. You don't know who these people are. You're just energy. There is no conscious thought patterns. There's no understanding. There is just feeling, emotion, and energy. And this is what we've lost touch. This is what the Wi-Fi does. This is what they've done to us. I'm very connected to energy. I can read energy very, very well. I can feel people's moods. It's a gift, it's a curse, whatever. But you can walk into this room and I'll know about you straight away. I can just, the members have experienced this so many times. Your lie doesn't work with me. Your mask falls and I can feel the underlying density of if it's heavy or if it's light, I can feel it. And when you're a baby, that's all you know. You don't have the ability to articulate. You don't have the ability to construct breakdowns of what's happening. You just feel. We're energy, that's all we are. And it's like dogs, you should never trust someone your dog doesn't trust. That's saying, because your dogs feel energy. They don't judge the man or woman based on the story on social media. They judge them on the energetic fucking frequency they're putting out. And children are like that as well. And through societal structures, we're told how to believe, we're told what to do, we are instructed what we should feel, how to feel. The traumas our parents place upon us, their traumas that they place upon us unconsciously. As a child, when you're throwing a tantrum, stop that, enough of that. Okay. What you're doing as a child is you're just expressing how you feel at that moment. In fact, I think it makes parents and adults feel uncomfortable, because the child is just so connected to how they feel and respond in kind They don't care about other people's judgments. They don't give a fuck about what other people say or think. They just know that this is how they feel and they must express it. And that's beautiful. It's us who are uncomfortable by this expression of emotion. So we do what societal conditioning has done for us, and we tell them to shut the fuck up, to stop that, that's bold, don't you dare do that. So the child doesn't know what to do anymore, so it locks it away because it needs to be loved. And the only way it feels loved is to feel safe. So if this is dangerous, if you're going to remove, if the father, the mother, or the grandfather, whoever it is telling them to stop that, the threat is we will remove our love from you if you don't behave yourself. Have you heard of the rock of, is it the sacred rock of Rosemary by Jesus' real image? I'm sorry, but I don't believe in Christianity. I just believe Christianity is another facade of ancient religions that just come from one story. I believe in Christ consciousness, and I believe that people who are Christ-like are beautiful people. And I have no problem with people believing in what they believe in, as long as it's not impacting other people's lives because they don't believe in it. You know, I've just done so much psychedelics and I've been through so much plant medicine experiences that I just know the Christian God isn't real. Christ consciousness is real. And if you read the Bible the way it's meant to be read, Jesus tells you, he's not who you think he is. He literally tells us that, and he tells us you too can do this and more. You can move, you can get these, if you believe, then these mountains will move, there's God and the kingdom of heaven is within. He tells us this so many times in the Bible, but people have manipulated the narrative and made Yahshua or Yahuwah, whatever you call him, whatever you want to call him, into this historical figure of Jesus. Even the very fact we've got a man who lived in the Middle East, apparently, looking like a white European. You know, you've got a question. The Shroud of Turin is a dude who's from Northern Europe. Do you know, it just doesn't make sense. And then you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and you can see, which is 6,000 years old in the Bible, and it's the exact same story. You know, you had Horus, who was born of a virgin, and 12 apostles, and had miracles, raised people from the dead. You know, all these things he did, crucified. They're all the same story. It's just rehashed. And it's done purposely, because if you believe that your God is the only God, and he believes that his God's the only God, and then he believes that his God's the only God, then there's reason for us to fight. I would be more along the lines of the Anunnaki, if there's anything. I believe it's more Anunnaki and the Sumerian tablets and Enlil and Enki and Marduk. It makes more sense to me when you study the Anunnaki story and you study the Sumerian tablets and the cuneiform written and Sanskrit, and then you look into Hinduism, and the story of Christ is there. Krishna, Christ consciousness, it's all there to be discovered. But the reality is, you're a Catholic or you're a Protestant because of where you were born. You're a Muslim or a Jew or a Buddhist or a Hindu because you were born. So you believe it. You believe the religion you believe basically because of the geographical position you were born into. These people who profess that Jesus is the light, the way, the truth, and all that stuff, they would be saying the same thing about Muhammad if they had been born in the Middle East, or about the coming Messiah if they were Jewish, or or they'd be Buddhist. You're literally just a product of your environment. But what I will say is the energetic story of religion runs true. What we believe religion to be is man-made. The energy of the religious beliefs is consciousness. That's why I see it. The religions have an underlying energy, that a similar thread that runs through it all. And I believe if you take the essence of the religious teachings, love thy neighbour, be a good man or woman, don't kill, don't steal, the principles for living a good life, then I believe you're doing okay. There are so many people out there who use religion as a way to get social accreditation. That they're applauded. I'm a good person. They're Pharisee. They're fucking Pharisees. We've got a cunt in this place called Jeffrey Donaldson, who was a fucking paedophile raping his own daughter, but he was a Christian. And I grew up in a faith. I had 2 priests come on to me. They're men of God. Raping children. The very infrastructure of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is just a lie. The Catholic Church is just a Roman fucking empire renamed. The Roman Empire didn't disappear, didn't get destroyed. It just was reborn into the Catholic faith, and it became a satanic organization that just was built upon a narrative that allowed control. Religion is control, because religion requires a doctrine. And that means you must be indoctrinated. There's a control structure and there's a control mechanism in religion. Once you become a Catholic, you must obey the laws of the Catholic faith. Once you become a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Jew, you must adhere to their teachings. And anything outside of their teachings is blasphemous, even if their teachings don't make sense. And this is where Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within. We are all particles of God. I have experienced this. I have been to Christ consciousness. I've been to that place. Bufo brought me there many times. Ayahuasca's brought me there. The mushrooms have brought me there. I have been to literally different dimensions. I have experienced things that there are no words for, like going into your own nanny's body and experiencing her death when you don't exist anymore. There's things. I don't need people. I'm at the stage of my journey where I don't need people to believe me. I don't give a fuck if people say you're nuts, because that's their opinion based on their reality and their inability to maybe question their belief structure. I don't know anyone who's done Bufo who believes in the Abrahamic religions anymore. It just destroys it in seconds. And what it leaves in its place is a connection with something so much greater than you. It's upheaval. It's your reality will fracture and you will never be the same again. Ever. Because of this experience where you understand that this is not all. I've got friends who I absolutely 100%, 10,000% would lay my life down for their belief that they commune with spirits. I know they do. They've done things for me that I just was like, whew. So I know this. But you just took my words in my mouth. That is the foundation. What user 500, 3, 6, whatever said, the foundation of all these, the essence of these energies of religion, before man corrupted them, was love. Every one of us has the ability to love. It's love, it conquers all. If you can love people who hate you as much as you love the children that you give birth to, or you created, this world can't affect you. Love is the answer. No matter what the question is, love is the answer. Because when you can love something, when you can truly love something without the need to be loved back, your vibrational frequency rises. And when you understand that you are the creator of your reality, you're the only one that has control over this reality. We project the problems to others. But what we don't realize, that's enslaving us. The goal here for each and every one is enlightenment. It's Christ consciousness. It's ascendance. But we're living in a society that's set up in a way that enables us to remain victims. And we are all victims, regardless of what we want to believe. Every one of us. We victimize ourselves. We create narratives in our mind that we live out. We replay over and over again. And it becomes our reality, and it affects our energetic frequency. And that frequency we vibrate at creates the reality we live in. And they know this. Those in charge know this. The big C word for the last 4 years exposed it. Repeat something over and over again until it comes into our subconscious mind and we play it out. And then the collective, the more we see others doing it, the more we fall into line. Do you know? And our job is to remove those distractions. It's a conundrum, this social media thing, isn't it? Because on one point, we're talking about connection. This isn't connection. This is us distracting ourselves. Connection is us meeting up and feeling the energy, the vibrations of energy between us all. That's what connection is. But we're so isolated, we're so busy, we're so worried about what others think. We don't have time, we've got so many bills to pay. We feel like shit that we don't do it. So we turn to these addictions. Doom scrolling. We all know we should be doing other things, but yet what we do is we do this. This has become such an integral part of life. And this device is the reason why mindset work and emotional work is becoming so profitable. Because ultimately, we don't know how to sit with ourselves anymore. We didn't need mindfulness training in the 90s. We had it when we had a shit. You were practicing mindfulness every time you had a dump because you didn't have a phone to distract you. You had to sit there. Think of your thoughts. We've lost that ability. We are so worried, we're so scared to sit with our own emotions. We no longer have the ability to just be at peace with our thoughts and consider what we're thinking and question the thoughts because they're so scary. So instead, we doom scroll and we try to find a distraction. We look for cat videos of fucking doing funny things and all this shit. But slowly but surely we are walking ourselves into this dystopian nightmare. Like, we've got kids, or for those of you who do have kids, most likely you've got iPads or some sort of device. And you wouldn't let your kids stay on the devices the long time we do. And then we get annoyed at our kids when they're on their devices for long, but monkey see, monkey do. Why are we asking our children to do the things that we can't do ourselves? And you know what the saddest part about it is? Our kids don't want that. Our kids do not want to be on the screen all day. Our kids are bored. That's why our kids are on screens all day, because they're bored. And do you know why they're bored? Because we don't give them the time they deserve. We are too busy worrying about life so that when we get 10, 15 minutes to just relax, we don't want to do anything. We want to just sit and doom scroll, distract ourselves, while we have got 2 or 3 or 4 kids, 1, 2 to 3, 4, whatever many kids you got, we've got them sitting there, ready to go, bundles of energy, just fucking needing to turn the ignition on, those kids go. And what I've learned from myself is my 2 kids are the key to my happiness. And yet I resist it so much. But every time I just embrace it, I find myself lighter. Kids, their imaginations are just insane. My youngest, Evelyn, that child is out there. Like, I'll come into Amanda's house and one day she designed on Pages an entire ice cream shop. Her imagination ran wild, and she'd got all these pages, and she drew like a green sort of rounded rectangle, a pink rounded, a chocolate one. She'd made all these different flavoured ice creams, and then she'd made these cones, and she'd cut out a TV, and all made of paper and cardboard. And I had to sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and play ice cream shops and all. Daddy, what do you want? Do you want some pink ice cream? This is lovely, thank you. Do you know, after 10, 15 minutes, I forgot my problems? I give myself permission to just become a child again, because lurking in every adult, there's that child. And we need to recognize this. The shit you do to people, the pain you put upon your partners, the accusations you make, they stem from childhood. That's the unhealed traumas that were imprinted in your mind from childhood, that your ego had to fracture and fucking deal with, and it formed a part of your personality that resides underneath the public mask. And that's why you crack up at people, and that's why you get triggered with people, and that's why when someone says something, you get so angry, because it comes from a place of trauma, it comes from a place of pain that you do not want to recognize or acknowledge yet. And the psychologists talk about this. We all know this. The greatest minds that have ever lived tell us this. The greatest psychologists acknowledge this. Gabor Mate, he's one of the best living psychologists ever, and he talks about childhood traumas. He talks about his own childhood trauma, how at 6 months old, he was given away by his mum to a stranger because he was a Jew, and it was World War II, and they were going to take him away. And so the mother, out of love, gave him away and said, get him to his auntie. But to the 6-month-old, it was abandonment. And he said at 84 years old, he is still living his life with an abandonment wound, because the only thing his mother represented at that time was love. So love abandoned him, so he doesn't know how to love himself. That's a trauma from 6-month-old. He's 84 years old, and he's the greatest man in the world. If that man's being affected, and he can acknowledge it's affected him, it's very ignorant for us who don't understand this to deny this. But also then you've got to question, if that imprintment happens, the happiness imprintment happens, the memories of childhood. That's why as a dad, when your son gets you to play football with him, after 5-6 minutes, You're in that mode, you're in that zone. You don't care about the boss anymore, you don't care about the overtime, you're not worried about the fight you just had with the wife. You and your son are bonding and you are back to being 10 years old and you're fucking Eddie Crowd forever the fuck you were at that age, going, yo, taking him around. You're laughing and you're enjoying. That is the ability of living in the moment. This is what we've lost. We have lost the ability to live in the moment. And living in the moment is all we actually have. The body can only experience the now. It's the mind that dictates where we go. If you can connect the mind and the emotions with the body, you're going to be happy, because it doesn't matter if your mum's dying. It doesn't matter if your kids have taken away from you. It doesn't matter if you've separated from your wife. It doesn't matter if you've caught your husband cheating. It doesn't matter if you and your son are never going to speak again, he hates you forever. If you can connect your body and mind and like emotion, spirit to the now, then nothing else matters. What we do is we take the mind and we live in the past. And we take the emotions that we have, the feelings or the experiences we had that no longer exist, and we go and ruminate on them, and we bring them into the present. So our energetic frequency, the energy field that we are existing in now, the body exists in, is vibrating from the emotional standing of that experience we had 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And because we're vibrating at that frequency, because we're thinking of that emotion, we're projecting the future to be similar to the now. And we have the ability to change the future by embracing the now as now. But we're not willing to do the work that gets us to do that ability. So many of us fear meditation. And this is why I'm doing I've got a calling, I've had a calling, and it's like, I've had these moments in my life. I'm aware of them, I'm awake to them. I used to be embarrassed about them, but now I'm not. Now at this age and this amount of experience, I realise who gives a fuck what other people think of me. It's what they think of me is their business, not mine. I remember when I was working in the Falls Leisure Centre as a lifeguard, and I had this drive, I had this urge to start coaching MMA. Now, saying this in 2024 is pretty easy, because 2024 MMA is like one of the most popular events in the world, and everyone wants to be an MMA fighter. But back when I was doing MMA, it was human cockfighting, it was fucking human dog fighting, you were allowed to headbutt, there was wearing no gloves, it was like you were just a thug, you were a scumbag if you did it. So there was a real social stigma towards MMA back then. It was just cage fighting then. But I started doing the MMA in 2000, 24 years ago. Fuck me. Over half my life. Fuck. But I remember my dad sitting me down and going, son, don't be doing this. What are you doing? And mum going, why are you doing this? Trying to convince me not to do this. I had to go overcome the battles, the disapproval of parents and everything. And that was hard for me back then, because of my childhood experiences with parents and the resistance I had against everything I wanted to do with them. So this is just another battle that I had to encounter. And I did it. And here's the crazy thing. Most of you will know Paul Hughes. Well, without me, Paul Hughes wouldn't be fighting for that club, because that's my gym. I founded that gym. Fight Academy Ireland is my creation. I started that club out of the Falls Leisure Centre in a back room, coaching 13 and 14-year-old wee lads how to fight. Do you know, this is like, I had to go through so much resistance to get to that point. And then when I decided I didn't want to be part of it anymore, when I decided the MMA was no longer for me, that I could see the way it was going, I didn't like the Conor McGregor fucking influence the sport was having. It was no longer about martial arts. It was a combat sport, it was a business, and that just didn't resonate with me, because I am about the martial art, I'm about the mindset, the emotional, the spirit. You know, for me, it became too business-like, and I didn't like it anymore, so I left it. And I got resistance from that. I was sit down at this stage. I had my first daughter. She was like 3 or 2 or something, and I had my mum and dad and I telling me, "Don't you be stupid, don't you walk away from that, blah, blah, blah." I just walked away. I walked away and joined a gym called Iron Fit that my friend Stephen Bell had created. And we started another gym. And then that was fucking destroyed by life. The building was taken off us. And I was catapulted into this position where I'd walked away from Fight Academy Ireland, giving it away to Liam, who's done amazing with it, by the way. And now I've out of Iron Fit and had to start coaching and paying rent. That was a hard thing for someone to do. Someone who could, like, you got to remember, back Fight Academy Ireland, back when it first started, it was called Progressive Combat Club Belfast. It was the first private gym. No one was doing it. We were told we were nuts. Don't be fucked. Why are people going to pay you that amount of money when they can go to the leisure centres? You know, there was the fucking blinkers that society, the Northern Ireland had back in 2009, I suppose I founded Fight Academy Ireland way in 2007. Yeah, I started MMA 2000. Opened my first club 2007, Fight Academy Ireland opened 2009. So 2009, there was no gyms, not like there was today. Today, there's a gym in every... Today, like kids do a 6-week fitness course and they are fucking opening their first 6-figure gym or business within 3 weeks and they're all regurgitating the same shite. There's no... What's the word I'm looking for? Everything's a carbon copy. There's no originality. No one is doing anything that's original anymore. They're all like, if you can go on Instagram, go on TikTok, and you can follow all these gyms, and you can guarantee that the words may be different, but the meaning and the energy and the message behind what they're saying is going to be the same. Always the same. Because there comes a point where, what else can you say? It's just, you've said it so much. That's another thing I've noticed. Do you know, the words have power. That's why it's called spelling. You know, I've said that many times. But when you repeat a word often enough, it can take on a meaning that it's not meant to have. It can take on a collective meaning that's not true. And it sort of ruins the strength. And I think a lot of people, you know, like the prime one in Northern Ireland, you see, I'm looking 10 men to do this and they want to lose a bit of weight, and you know, it's just the same advert over and over again, and people just. I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do because I have made so many fucking mistakes. I'm doing this job 18 years. I'm doing this job as long as some of the kids who are telling you what to do are alive or have been alive. And that's not me being big-headed. It's me acknowledging the fact that I look back at the version I was in 2007 and I realised he had no fucking clue what he was doing. He was winging it. He was not confident. He was lying. He was pretending to be someone he wasn't. He was experiencing that fucking imposter syndrome. And he did for many, 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 many years. I would genuinely say it's only been the last 2-3 years that I've actually stepped into who I am. Truly who I am. It was the ayahuasca and the spiritual journey I've been on and the exposure to my lies and what is true to me. That has made me who I am today. And that's why I am now starting the sound therapies, and because if you follow me, some of you have followed me long enough now, you know I talk about the training trinity, the emotional, the physical, and the mental approach to create the equilateral triangle, and in the center of that triangle, spirituality, because that is what we are. Our foundation is spirit, but in this realm, in this existence, this skin that we live in, this meat suit, physical, emotional is the foundation, and then physical and mental comes. But the fitness industry isn't working the way it should be. The fitness industry is creating more problems than helping now, in my opinion, because it's projecting a lie to sell the business. It is no longer about helping people. Helping people is the story that's being used to make people money. That's the sad thing. And you can feel it. You can feel it. You can see it. We know it. We've all experienced it. This underlying energetic lie. And we can all feel it. We all know. You see the fitness industry advertisements you see on Facebook and social media. The message is the same, no matter what gym or trainer saying it. It loses its power. It removes that ability, And I think people are becoming disenfranchised by the fitness industry because for the last 8 years, fitness has really excelled. It's really exploded. But we're fatter. We're more depressed. We're more disconnected. So we're literally doing the opposite of what the fitness industry is telling us we should be doing. And it's because we're not actually addressing the problems. The fitness industry is the equivalent of putting a plaster or a bandage over a bullet wound. It stops the bleeding for a bit, but it doesn't remove the bullet, doesn't heal the wound, and it's going to keep bleeding eventually. And people just keep on putting more and more bandages over it in the hope that it stops the bleeding. But no one's actually willing to remove the bullet and stitch the wound up and take the time it needs to heal. So I'm doing things differently again. I've always been an outlier. I've always been one of the first, if not the first, to do something differently, I'm doing it again. 2025, the training trinity is what I'm bringing to the fitness industry. I've already ordered the equipment. I'm experimenting with all my mates. They're all loving it. I'm doing a lot of sound bath. I'm turning. See that area down there? That's becoming the holistic area. It's still going to be used for the MMA and the fighting and all that stuff, but we're going to be bringing sound baths and really focus on the vibrational frequency of everyone that comes to the gym. Because if we can raise the vibrational frequency, if I can create a space where people feel they belong, where they feel supported, and they feel safe to open up, then the healing can begin. I don't want to get you fit, I want to help you heal. Because I spent years getting myself fit. I was one of the fittest motherfuckers you could ever meet, but I was still the most depressed motherfucker you'd ever meet. I was pretending I was happy. I was acting just to feel like I belonged somewhere. But the truth was, I hated who I was. I hated what I was doing. And I just didn't love myself. We're all like that. And the more isolated we go, do you know I'm lucky? I don't know what time it is actually, I must check. But the gym that started me off, Davy Patterson, absolutely, without doubt, one of my greatest life mentors, one of my best friends. He owns EFR. He is the OG of MMA in this country. Without him, MMA is not the way it is today. It just isn't. He produced some of the greatest fighters this country's ever had, doesn't know. Greg Loughrane, the greatest MMA fighter Ireland's ever had that no one knows about. Pioneer, an OG. Without him, McGregor and all didn't exist. He paved the paths for all Irish stars to walk down. He was the first true Irish MMA star. And if you don't know who Greg Loughrane is and you think you're an MMA fighter or an MMA fan, you're not an MMA fan. Because Greg Loughrane was the man. He fought the greatest of the greats. He was traveling to America, fucking fighting on the big shows. Before there were big shows, he was the man. And Davy was his coach. I was lucky. I trained with Greg. Greg and I started Davies at the same time. Thomas Duffin, another guy. There's guys that people in Irish MMA don't know about, who without these fighters didn't exist. Davy Patterson, Paul Hughes. Paul Hughes started this journey with Davy Patterson. Davy Patterson was the foundational layer of knowledge that Paul Hughes took on board to become the fighter he is now. So what about that for craziness? Davy Patterson started Paul Hughes, and now Paul Hughes is fighting for the gym that I created. It's mad how these things happen. Jeez, if fighters could just know Greg Loughlin and realise you can be a fucking warrior without being a dick. Greg is the most humble, beautiful man you will meet. So respectful. If you talk to Greg, you would think you beat him. He's everything a fighter isn't. But the guy would fucking eat you for fucking breakfast. He was a warrior. Irish MMA. I'm actually considering doing an Irish MMA podcast with all the old schoolers because it's like, it's a time forgotten. Irish MMA was amazing back in the day. I feel sorry for the fighters of today. They didn't experience what we did. Do you know how insane it is to be sparring the guy you're fighting 3 weeks' time because there's not enough people to spar? Most of us knew who was going to win the fight before the fight happened because they'd been fighting each other for fucking weeks beforehand because they're the only people who could fight because there wasn't anyone to fight. We would just rent community halls, orange halls, fucking parish church halls just to training because there was nowhere else to train. Garages. It was a different time. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It's been ruined again. Like everything. I think it's actually better to be at something when it's in its infancy. There's an energy that's different. It's nicer. It's more authentic. When money comes into it, money corrupts. The Babylonian money magic thing, it does corrupt everything. It takes the magic away from what it is. I think that's why I have such a resistance towards money. Because when money becomes the foundational focus, then the energy of what you're trying to do is removed, it's lessened, it's diluted. If you want to help someone, but in order for you to help them, they must first give you money. That's not human. And the reason that happens is because we no longer have the community support we once had. Once upon a time, we didn't need to pay for counsellors because we had our nannies and grandas. We had the elders of our tribes. We had the support network of friends. We had people who would just hold us and let us cry and make us feel and make us realise that it's okay, that we can still get things worked out. And as we have become more technologically advanced, that human support is removed. And then that leads to more isolation. And that isolation leads to more dependence on more technology. And then that just ends up in this cycle of removing ourselves more and more. We want to be more connected, but using technology to try to be connected is the complete, it's like the Antichrist of connection. It's a lie. And it's so sad to see, isn't it? It's so sad that so many of us are craving the connection that will make us happy, but we're craving it in the wrong places. We're looking for it in the wrong places. I can't see it ending anytime soon. But yeah, 2025, I'm launching the Training Trinity, the holistic approach to fitness, mindset work, sound baths, emotional healing. I'm feeling this calling to start helping others heal. I've been on this healing path long enough myself, and I've accrued enough knowledge and experience and wisdom that I know I can help others. I know I can help others because I'm helping guys every day, and guys are telling me I should be a counsellor. When enough men have told you should be a counsellor, mate, it's maybe time to start looking down that path. But I don't know if I want to be a counsellor. Because I was saying to this guy, funny enough, it was on here. It was live on TikTok that this happened. And I just happened to say to him, just send me a DM, mate, and I'll give you a call. And I called him. And he said with an hour's conversation with him, achieved more than 10 years of counselling. And the realisation came to me, was like, because I'm not a counsellor, I'm just a man. I'm just a dude who has a lot of knowledge and understanding and wisdom from his own experiences and from helping other guys. And I can talk to you like a dude. We're not sitting down to have this tell me about your mother conversation. We're just trying to get to the root of what's wrong. And you can do that by being empathetic. Before we had this educational system, we had elders. We had people who had wisdom because they were older, because they'd experienced life more deeply than us, and that they could remove themselves emotionally from the problems we were experiencing and become the observer. And we need to go back to that. We all have the ability to heal each other. We've all the ability to heal ourselves and heal each other. But we're so conditioned to believe that we need to pay for it by experts. You know, we need to go to a counsellor. We need to go to a psychologist. This psychologist has studied the mind, and no, what he studied is a fucking literature of people. It's like, it goes back to the Bible sort of thing. You know, we've got preachers who know the Bible inside out. But what good is that if you haven't got the wisdom to digest what the teachings are teaching you? If you're repeating them verbatim, if you're just taking the words that are being spoken and just regurgitating them without digesting them and expressing them through your own wisdom and experiences, you're not really an expert. You're just a regurgitator. It's the education system. The education system is just a system to teach you facts. Can you remember? My daughter's doing her transfer test now. My daughter's a fucking genius when it comes to that shit. She scored like the entire way up there, 97, 96, 92, 98. She came back to me the other day, I only got 86%. Like, when I was doing those exams, I was lucky if I got 44. But what's the point? Like, you can go and look up what Freud had said. You can go and look up what Jung has said. You don't need to go to a psychologist to hear that. What you're looking for is someone who can connect with you on a deeper level. The knowledge, so I will study the greats. I will study the Stoics. I study the fucking religions. I read the Qurans, the Bibles. Deeper levels than most. I want to understand the deeper esoteric meanings behind all of this. Because that depth of understanding, and amongst that, when you dig down deep, there are lessons that only we can learn. You can read the same passage that I can read, but if we're both wise enough, we will both come to different realizations that we can then express and help each other grow. But if we're just regurgitating the same lines, then we're not learning, we're not actually progressing anything. And I think that's something that needs to be acknowledged by us all. You know, there is definitely this underlying belief that an expert is just someone who knows it all, but it's not about knowing. Or let me rephrase that. It's not about regurgitating. It's about being able to know what's being said and express it from a perspective that only you can understand, only you know. Because it's your insight, your own individual insights that can lead to findings and discoveries. And that goes for each and every one of us. Too many people attach to other people's opinions because they're experts. I get that all the time. Fuck, I wish I could think like you. You can. It may not be easy, but it's simple. You just start. You start to read. You start to question. You ask yourself, is that true? I love that. Is that true? And again, Byron Katie, Loving What Is. Get the audiobook, listen to it over and over again. Is that true? Who would I be without that thought? That's all you need to know. The answers to life. Is that true? And who would I be without that thought? The other book that I always tell people to read is The Four Agreements. The 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Can you imagine if all of us made a collective decision to be impeccable with our words? Meaning that if you said you were going to do something, you did it. And there was no wiggle room for excuses or reasons why you didn't. You would be much more concise with what you said. You wouldn't just be willy-nilly trying to people please. If someone asked you to do something you couldn't, you say, no, I can't do that. This is where, because so many of us are eager to please others, that we'll promise things we can't keep, and then we let others down, and we don't realize the impact that letting them down can have on them, especially our children, because they internalize that, and they make that something that it isn't, that becomes their identity. I'm not good enough. Mummy said she would do that for me, and she didn't. Therefore, she doesn't love me. Daddy said he would do that for me, he didn't. Daddy said he'd do that for me, and he didn't do it. Daddy keeps on saying that, so therefore, I'm not worthy. Remember, when you put a child down, they don't stop loving you. They just stop loving themselves. You've got to recognize that. So if you can take the first agreement, be impeccable with your word, and you can live by that, we can do it as a collective, this earth changes overnight. But the problem is most of us won't. And then if we do try it and we fail, we ruminate in the failure rather than actually just connecting with the fact that we're all human. Like one of the agreements is do your best. Do your best. Can you look in the mirror and go, I did my best? Because if you can do that, then what else can be expected of you? There's not much more can be expected of someone who did their best. Yeah, the key to happiness is such simplicity. We're looking for it in the wrong areas. We're looking for the wrong places. But anyway, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go grappling and enjoy myself. So, you all have a great day, and I'll speak to you all later.